Mr. Lowe's.
Mr. Lowe's.
What are you doing, Mr. Lowe's?
Mr. Lowe's.
Oh, hello, I'm Mr. Lowe's. And this is the Australian Echidna. Isn't it cute? There's an Aboriginal Dreamtime story about the Echidna. Let's go and read it. Yeah! Garwambana. That means welcome in Wiradjuri language. Wiradjuri is the name of the Aboriginal nation that my family come from. Geelang means story.
Just read the Geelang.
Do you know that there are over 500 different Aboriginal nations in Australia? And they all have their own languages and dialects. Before I read this story, I would like you to please sit down, be silent, and listen. Durai means please. Winya means sit down. Mugawa means silent. And Wurugabanya means listen. So, Durai Winya, please sit down. Mugawa, be silent. Wurugabanya, listen as I read this Geelang or story. Durai Winya, Mugawa, Wurugabanya, as I read this Geelang. There's a lot of words to learn. Yal Bilinya means learn. Yal Bilinya.
Oh, just read the Geelang, Mr.
Before I read this
Lowe's.
story, I need to spin my sign. The Echidna and the Shade Tree. An Aboriginal story told by Mona Green, compiled by Pamela Lofts.
Mr. Lowe's.
The Echidna and the Shade Tree. An Aboriginal story told by Mona Green, compiled by Pamela Lofts. Away out in the middle of the desert, there once grew a huge tree. It was so big that it shaded the whole land from the scorching sun. All the animals lived in the shade of this tree. Each day they would hunt for food, while old Echidna stayed behind. He looked after the children. Each time, when the animals returned with the food, they would give the children the tastiest bits. But poor old Echidna got only the scraps. This made Echidna very angry. He grabbed hold of that giant shade tree and shook it. He pulled it and, with a mighty tug, tore it right out of the ground, roots and all. He put the tree on his back and stomped off. Soon, the animals realised that their shade was moving and that they would die of thirst in the hot sun. They chased after Echidna and begged him to stop. They begged him to put the tree back. But he just marched on in anger. The animals threw a boomerang. Surely that would stop him. But it didn't. It hit him on the feet and broke his toes. But he still shuffled on. At last, the animals hurled their spears. Echidna howled in pain. Soon he was completely covered with spears. The giant tree crashed to the ground. It rolled over and over across the plain. And its huge branches broke off and stuck into the ground. Poor Echidna lay dying. Soon the animals began to feel sorry for him. Cockatoo flew up and asked, "Where would you like to be buried?" "In an ant bed? In a clump of spinifex grass? In between some rocks?" Echidna chose the rocks. When he died, the animals buried him there and covered him up. Only the spears were sticking out. To this day, echidnas have spears on their backs. They still shuffle about on little bent and broken feet as they hunt for ants amongst the rocks. The animals, too, still live in the desert. They hunt in the shade of the small trees that grew from the branches of that one giant tree. And they will never die of thirst, because water filled up the hole left by the shade tree and made a huge lake called Nongra. I hope you enjoyed that story, or Gilang. When playing the didgeridoo, the Aboriginal people imitate the sound an animal makes, the way it moves, or the way it looks. The short-beaked echidna was given the name tachyglossus, which means fast tongue, because of how quickly and rapidly the echidna moves its tongue to slurp up insects such as ants, termites, worms, or insect larvae. I'm going to attempt to imitate the sound of the echidna's tongue as it's catching its prey. Duraiwinya, mugawa, wudagabinya. I hope you learned something from this video. See you next time. If you would like to learn more Wiradjuri language, this is the app that I'm using.